What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB, and good morning to you because we are heading into week 6 of the fantasy football season. As always, every Monday we're going to talk about some waiver wire guys you could be picking up, a couple of guys that are going to be rostered in a majority of leagues, but you still got to double check the waiver wire just in case they're available, and then definitely some players that are under that 50% threshold of rostership percentage that you can be looking to make as adds onto the back end of your bench this week. That could help you potentially win a fantasy football championship down the road. So with all of that being said, make sure you guys are tapped into this channel. Got tons of content coming the rest of the season for you guys. Like I said, trying to help you win those championships, but I don't want to waste any more time. So let's just hop into this video and let's start talking about the waiver wire ads. All right, so as you can see, these are going to be the waiver wire priorities. These players are rostered in over 50% of leagues, but if for some reason you're in a shallow league, an 8-man, a 10-man league, and maybe these guys are still available for you on your fantasy football waiver wire, you should be double checking, making sure they're available, and if they are, make sure to pick them up. Those players are going to be guys like Rachaad White, Rico Dowdle, Calvin Ridley, Darren Waller, Rashid Shaheed, Romeo Dobbs, Matthew Stafford, Michael Carter, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jackson Dart. A ton of these players we talked about as stashes at the end of last week to have them on your roster going into the weekend. So hopefully you were able to do that and jump the waiver wire, because guys like White, Dowdle, all of these guys, Michael Carter as well, that were big performers for us in week 5. We talked about picking them up last week. So hopefully you guys were tapped in. But that takes us to our first pickup of the day. And for me, that's going to be Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor's another player who was on that stash episode, but he went out and balled out again here for the New York Jets. Currently rostered in only 20% of leagues at the moment, so he is widely available, and he's coming off of this game here against the Dallas Cowboys where the Jets, they did lose, but he had 9 catches on 12 targets for 67 yards. Now, this is back-to-back weeks for Mason Taylor where he's seen a 25% or better target share in this offense, so a player who's certainly starting to get involved, and he was drafted to be a big piece of this offense moving forward, so he is certainly a pickup if you are needy at the tight end position. Let's go on to another player that I think you should pick up. It's going to be Kendre Miller. We've talked about him a couple times as well, but still only rostered in about 28% of leagues. He's a player I think needs to be picked up and put on the back end of the bench. 11 touches for 49 yards. That's not going to get you super excited as far as production goes. It's not like we're plugging him into the lineup immediately, but he has seen his snap counts go up every single week from 13% to 16%, from 16 to 27, from 27 to 32, and now he's up to 41% of the snaps here at the end of week 5. And it feels like this is a player who's working his way onto the football field. He saw more carries than Alvin Kamara this week, and it feels like a Kamara trade could be imminent if the New Orleans Saints decide to start selling off some veteran talent. So Kendre Miller, certainly a pickup and stash option because it seems like it's trending up for Kendre Miller. Another guy we should be picking up, and it's probably 2 guys that I'm going to bring up here, but think of this as the backup running backs for the Los Angeles Chargers. Kimani Vidal is the name that I like the most. He is rostered in 1% of leagues, but Hassan Haskins is also another name to note. He's only rostered in 2% of leagues. So these guys are going to be 99% and 98% available for you on the waiver wire this week. And the reason why we're picking them up is because Omarion Hampton was seen in a walking boot after the game. He did injure his ankle. We don't know how serious it's going to be, but obviously when you see a boot on a player, we got to be a little bit reactive off of the waiver wire, especially because we're not going to get more information until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as we get some of those injury reports to come in. So Vidal is definitely the player that I think is a little bit more talented. He's the running back that I would be prioritizing, but Haskins is still worth a pickup as well as an early down grinder in this offense potentially. But Kimani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, both of them are definitely worth picking up, especially if you're the Omarion Hampton owner. Now, the next player we should talk about is Josh Downs for the Indianapolis Colts. Rostered in about 46% of leagues at the moment. They just went out and beat the brakes off the Las Vegas Raiders. 40-6 was the ending score there. He had 6 catches on 8 targets for 54 receiving yards, and this is a player who's starting to get just a little bit healthier in his offense. Obviously, he started the year off with a hamstring injury and some other stuff that kind of kept him off of the football field. I think this is a player where, yes, it may kind of look like he's not going to be in a full-time role. At least for now, he's definitely a name that I would be watching to see if he can work his way into those 2 wide receiver sets, to see if the snap counts get a little bit better as we get further and further into a healthier version of Josh Downs. And if that's the case, this is a player who might find himself flex-worthy in our fantasy football leagues. He might already be flex-worthy as it is, but definitely a player I'd be picking picking up if I need some wide receiver help through some potential bye weeks and or injuries. I have a quarterback for us to pick up as well. It's going to be Sam Darnold, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. They lost in this game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, probably the game of the week so far, but he's rostered in only 36% of leagues at the moment. 341 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 135.4 passer rating. This is a player who's been playing very, very well for the Seahawks, and he's looked fantastic throughout the beginning of the year. This is a player I might have been wrong about. I said he might have had a little bit of the benefit of playing with Kevin O'Connell, and I thought there was going to be some regression for Sam Darnold coming into 2025 when you don't have the luxury of a play caller like Kevin O'Connell in your back pocket. That has been wrong. Sam Darnold has been just as good this year, and I think he's a player we definitely need to be having on our benches. You look at the schedule here for the Seahawks moving forward, it's very favorable for quarterback production in fantasy. He's going to get some matchups here against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Washington Commanders, and the Arizona Cardinals, which should be very good opportunities for him to continue lighting up the scoreboard for fantasy football teams. Let's go back to the running back position. For me, it's going to be Isaiah Davis here for the New York Jets. Only 4 touches for 33 total yards in this loss to the Dallas Cowboys, but he's only rostered in 12% of leagues. This is a player who should continue to fill in for Braylon Allen, who is now going to be trending towards IR. Breece Hall also got banged up in this game during a fumble, kind of was shaking out his arm, looking at his shoulder, looking at his elbow, things like that. We haven't got a ton of clarity on what that is for Breece Hall or whether that's going to be an injury that keeps him off the football field. I would say probably not going to keep him off the football field, but Isaiah Davis is certainly somebody that I would be picking up and stashing because right now, the depth chart in New York, it's getting a little bit thin, and if for some reason Breece Hall were to miss time, Isaiah Davis would be next man up. I have one more running back for you as well here on the waiver show. It's going to be Brashard Smith, and now full disclosure, as you guys know, I am recording this and dropping this before Monday Night Football. Here in Week 5, they play the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road there in Jacksonville. Brashard Smith is only rostered in 16% of leagues. Maybe you can catch this before the game, pick him up before the game. If not, you may have to wait to see what happens in Monday Night Football. But this is a player who's had the coach speak all week. He's had it for a couple of weeks now, actually, where they've been saying they want to get him more involved, and it seems like that is the game plan for Brashard Smith, is to get him some more opportunities potentially here in this Jacksonville Jaguars matchup. That said, if Brashard Smith sees anywhere near double-digit opportunities, that could be 6 carries and 4 receptions. Maybe it's just 10 carries. Whatever that may be, if he gets somewhere around 10 opportunities in this game, I think this is a player who absolutely should be picked up going into the week and might end up being one of the top priority pickups depending on how he performs here with some added opportunities. And that's assuming that the coach speak is actually legit. Maybe they're just saying it and they don't show it here in Week 5. If they don't, maybe you're not prioritizing a guy like Brashard Smith. But I wanted to bring him up and mention him anyways because these always come out on Mondays, but I definitely think Brashard Smith is going to be a piece of conversation for some people depending on how he performs here tonight. I have another tight end for us too. It's going to be Theo Johnson of the New York Giants. We talked about him on the stash episode as well, and he goes out this week, 6 catches on 7 targets for 33 total yards and 2 touchdowns in that Giants loss to the New Orleans Saints. I will say, Jackson Dart has thrown 3 touchdowns in the NFL so far as a starting quarterback, and all 3 of his touchdowns have gone to Theo Johnson. So he may end up being the go-to end zone target for Jackson Dart here in New York, and certainly a player where, like I said, it's a fickle position, the tight end position. If you need some help, you're looking for some upside, maybe Theo Johnson's available and maybe he's worth the pickup, and put him on your bench just to see if this tight end trend continues and maybe just the targets continue for him here in New York with Jackson Dart under center. My second to last pickup here is going to be Kendrick Bourne for the San Francisco 49ers. Not a priority pickup by any means. He is only rostered in about 11% of leagues, but his Week 5 production was insane there on Thursday Night Football on the road at the Rams. 10 catches on 11 targets for 142 yards. Look, this is a player who took advantage of opportunity. Ricky Pearsall was out of this game. Juwan Jennings was out of this game. George Kittle is out of this game. None of the top players were in the lineup here for the San Francisco 49ers, and they needed somebody to step up. Kendrick Bourne did that. That is why he is not a priority for me, because as they get healthier, as Jennings, Pearsall, Kittle all start to find their way back onto the football field, probably not going to be very beneficial for us in fantasy football, but he has proven that if the other players are missing time, he is a solid streaming option, so you could pick him up, put him on your bench, see how these players like Pearsall and Jennings trend throughout the week, see if they're going to miss another week. If they do, maybe Kendrick Bourne is somebody you can plug into your flex again here in Week 6. And then my last and final player I want to talk about is going to be wide receiver Jalen Coker. Has not played football this year. The Panthers, they just beat the Miami Dolphins 27-24. Coker is only rostered in about 14% of fantasy football leagues. He's supposed to be having his practice window opened here this week. Should mean he can be activated from IR very shortly. Is going to end up being the slot wide receiver here for the Carolina Panthers, and I think he is an intriguing option on the waiver wire. If you're looking for some extra wide receiver help that could potentially be plugged into your flex, I think him and Tedero McMillan are going to be the two players in this offense that are going to be the best and the most reliable pass catchers moving forward. So I think Coker is interesting if you need some deep help. And like I said, he's only rostered in 14% of leagues, so he is widely available at this time. All right, folks, so there you have it. That is 10 plus players that you guys can add. If you count the waiver priority players that are the double check guys, it's probably 20 plus players for you to potentially pick up here heading into week 6 of the fantasy football season. As always, if you found something today informative, entertaining, and or actionable, do me the favor, hit that like button. It is the best free way to show this channel some support. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. You don't want to miss any of the future content that's coming out. We got rankings, Q&As, dash videos, all of that good stuff to help you hopefully win your fantasy football championship here in the 2025 season. And also go join our free Discord. We do have a free Discord linked in the description, helping you guys with those fantasy football teams 24/7, 365. And it's not just me, it's 500 plus other people who want to talk fantasy football with you. So like I said, free to join, no risk in joining that. But with all that being said, I have nothing else for you guys today. So I will see you on our next episode. Until then, though, peace out.